we know that subsidy given by the government to the benefit of the farmer. We know that any type of the subsidy that is given by the government, either by central government or state government, does not form part of the consideration. So here, the subsidy that is provided by the government for the benefit of the farmer does not form part of the additional consideration. The government provides subsidy for the benefit of the farmer, but it is given to the manufacturer or fertilizer will not be considered as consideration. Here, the manufacturer of fertilizer, they may receive subsidy for manufacturing of the fertilizer from respective state government or central government. The amount of the consideration amount of money that is collected by such manufacturer on account of the sale of the fertilizer to the customer, that amount obviously form part of the consideration on which GST is to be paid. But in spite of the amount that is being collected by such manufacturer of the fertilizer from the customer, they are also receiving subsidy from the government also because of manufacturing of the fertilizer as per the government scheme. But the amount of the subsidy that are collected by this manufacturer, by the manufacturer of the fertilizer from the government should not form part of the additional consideration. And since the subsidy do not form part of the consideration, amount of subsidy that are receiving by that manufacturer from the government are not to be leviable for GST. For example, suppose a manufacturer of fertilizer making sale of rupee 1 crore for the month March 2020. That means it issued invoice amounting to rupees 1 lakh during the month of March 2020 for making sale of fertilizer to the customer. And on this amount of rupee 1 crore, it liable to pay GST. And that GST is to be paid within the 20th April 2020. We know that the GST for that is to be issued, that is to be charged in the invoice for a month, is to be paid within the 20th of the next month. Now here, on the amount of the invoice issued for rupees 1 crore, the manufacturer of the fertilizer will liable to pay GST. But if this manufacturer receive any subsidy from the government because of manufacturing of this fertilizer, suppose they are receiving 20% subsidy from respective state government for manufacture of the fertilizer, so they will receive rupees 20 lakh also. So the entire amount that is collected by the fertilizer comes to rupees 1 crore 20 lakh. That means 1 crore is to be collected from the customer and rupees 20 lakh is to be collected from the government on account of the subsidy. But the amount of the subsidy that is to be collected from the government by these manufacturers will not form part of the consideration. Here GST is to be paid only on the amount of rupee 1 crore. Next point is that deposit. We know that if the deposit is non-refundable, then it will considered as consideration. If the deposit is refundable, then it will not form part of the consideration. If the deposit is non-refundable, on such deposit GST is to be levied. But if the deposit is refundable, since it is not forming part of the consideration, no GST will be there. Now, another example is there: equipment and instrument sent to the manufacturer's factory for repair and calibration with India on a returnable basis. Is it supply? Now, at the time of making sale by the manufacturer of that equipment, if the warranty is being provided against such sale, that means if it requires some repairing activity on that equipment or instrument within a specific period, that is to be provided by the supplier at free of cost. If this agreement is specified at the, if this term is specified at the agreement of sale, then after making sale of that equipment or instrument, if they are not acting properly, if they need some sort of repair, and the purchaser of the equipment return that equipment or instrument to the supplier for making repairing work, and if it is within the warranty period, then there will be no consideration, because within warranty period any type of the repairing work are to be done at free of cost. Now the question is whether it will form part of supply or not, whether for providing this service by the supplier to the purchaser there will be any GST or not. Now, as per section 231 of CGST ACT 2017, it has been clarified that if within the warranty period repairing services is provided by the supplier at free of cost, it is not forming part of supply, since no sale is taken place, no supply is taken place further. It is enough to issue a challan for removing of the goods without supply. By issuing that challan, here the recipient of the goods, that means the purchaser of the goods, sends the instrument or equipment to the factory of the manufacturer for making repair work in warranty period. Here the service is provided by the manufacturer within the warranty period for repairing of that equipment or instrument, but consideration will not be there. And no sale are further taken place. and on that ground it is not to be taken as supply, and no GST will be there. Now, X Limited supplied spare parts freely to replace during the warranty period. Is it supply and chargeable to GST? The same answer will be repeated, since it is made within the warranty period and it is provided against free of cost. So there is no consideration that is being generated, and no supply of goods or services is further taken place, because at the time of making sale of main equipment or instrument, it has been stated in that sale agreement that if it needs some spare parts within a stipulated period, that is to be provided by the manufacturer or seller at free of cost. So no further supply of goods or services is taken place here, and no consideration is generated further. So there will be no supply and no GST will be leviable on that transaction. GST is not chargeable if free replacement is provided by the business to the customer without consideration under warranty.